Hello, sports fans. Welcome to the Oklahoma Sports Report OU Football Edition. I'm Heath. With me, Mark Rodgers, and we are at a brand new sports bar in Norman, Roosters Sports Bar and Grill. It's on Main Street next to the Winston. Great new place, wonderful food, great atmosphere, and it's got a long history here at Roosters. And now that it's Roosters, it's got special memories also.
Well, it's going to be a great place. Food here is outstanding, and the TV situation is great. Norman needs a sports bar like this, so looking forward to seeing what's going to happen.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And people, if you're looking for a place, if you're not going to Dallas, you got to come to Roosters here, Sports Bar and Grill in Norman, and watch the OU Texas game, because that's what Mark and I are going to be talking about, of course. And joining us a little bit later, Cale Gundy in the next segment. But Mark, OU took care of business. Texas took care of business against Kansas. OU took care of business against Iowa State, and now both teams go into this matchup 5-0.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had a game with both teams undefeated like this, where it's on national stage and major implications. So I'm looking forward to the game. I think that we'll see. It's a big test for Oklahoma. Texas has looked really good. Texas won the game last year easily, so there's a lot to prove on the Oklahoma side.
Well, you know, Texas has got two good victories. They went to Alabama, and there's not a better victory in college football than that one this year so far. And then they took care of what a lot of people thought would be a tougher game than it was against Kansas. Now, of course, Kansas didn't have their starting quarterback, but they've had two good victories. And OU, even though they've won, it hasn't been, such an outstanding look, but still they're undefeated.
Well, I think to be ahead of Iowa State the way they were at half, score 40 points against a really good defense. I mean, sometimes, the defenses look really good this year for Oklahoma. The offense has had really, a lot of success with big plays in the passing game. Not so much in the rushing game, but Dillon Gabriel has been good so far this season, so we'll see if Oklahoma can do that in the Cotton Bowl.
And we'll talk about that matchup, Dillon Gabriel against Ewers with Cale here in a little bit. But, hey, when both teams have come in 5-0, or undefeated, I should say, undefeated, OU is 7-4-1.
Okay.
So that bodes a little bit, that bodes well. Now, you can take a lot of conditions in on that. But if you're an OU fan, you're looking for any edge you can get, and that's an edge.
Well, Oklahoma's they've been the better team. I mean, they were favored 12 years in a row before last year's game. And so they lost a couple of those, but that happens sometimes. Oklahoma's had a lot better program than Texas in the last 10, 12 years. We'll see, though. I mean, Texas is really trending in the right direction. If Sark's the right coach for them, the sky could be the limit, because it looks like they're trending up.
Well, up to this point, they have looked like the part. We'll see on Saturday for both teams. Hey, we are at Roosters Sports Bar and Grill on Main Street in Norman next to the Winston. You got to come by. It's a great place, as Mark said. Great food, great atmosphere, a lot of TVs, a lot of sports. Come by to Roosters Bar and Grill. We'll be right back with Cale Gundy right after this. Hi, friends. Did you know that over 80 million men and women suffer from hair loss? Well, now there's help. Dr. Victoria Johnson and her staff at Laser Light Skin Clinic are introducing a revolutionary laser hair loss treatment called Alma TED. Alma TED uses a proprietary laser that will help stop hair loss and promote growth. For more information, give Dr. Victoria Johnson and her staff at Laser Light a call and stop hair loss today. And welcome back, Oklahoma Sports Report OU Football Edition. Heath, Mark Rodgers, and joining us now, Cale Gundy, former player and coach for OU. Cale, thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
We're gonna lean on you for some insight there, from a player's point of view and a coach's point of view. Texas comes into this game ranked number 3 in the country. Some people think they're maybe even the best team. As a matter of fact, Sarkisian was asked that in his press conference this week. Are you the best team in college football? Of course, he can't answer that, but the Texas press think they are. So, your thoughts on Texas so far?
Well, I think they're a good team. I just still have a hard time putting Texas back in that mix. They're definitely they've got a lot of experience. Their quarterback's been back now. They got some receivers, skill guys, running backs playing really well. Good offensive line, defense is playing well. They've got a key win versus Alabama, on the road at Alabama, which is, typically not the type of Alabama we've been seeing, but still a great win on the road at Alabama. So it'll be interesting. I think they're a good football team. I'm not going to say they're a great football team. They're averaging, they're scoring they've been scoring 30 points a game, 30, 34, 37, 38. I think they have one game out of 5 that they scored in the 40s. So it's going to be challenging for them, and I like OU's chances this weekend. I really do.
Mark, your thoughts on Texas?
I think Texas is about 1 year ahead of Oklahoma on the offensive line and the defensive line. The NIL, they had a lot of things going with their offensive line, and I think they're really good on both sides of the ball there. And I think that's could be a differentiator in the game on Saturday. So we'll see. I think OU is really on the right track. They're getting better. They've got better players on defense than they've had in a long time. And so I think Oklahoma's still got good players that they're recruiting, but I think that Texas is going to have a little bit of an edge in the trenches, and this is some of the best skill players that they've had, especially at the wide receiver position with Jatavian Sanders, the tight end. They've got a lot of potential first-round picks there with Mitchell, also Worthy. Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma can win this game, but I think Texas is just a little bit better right now.
The way I look at it, you start matching it up, gentlemen. You got quarterbacks, yours against Gabriel, then you got offensive line against the defensive line, wide receiver, secondary, that kind of thing. But going into it, I think one advantage OU might have is Dylan Gabriel's experience and the way he's playing right now. Kel, your thoughts?
Well, he's got a lot of experience. He's played a lot of games, but Quinn Ewers has played in a bunch of games too. Quinn Ewers has already played in this game. Dylan Gabriel has not played in this game.
Good point.
This will be the biggest game that Dylan Gabriel's ever played in. This will be the biggest atmosphere, the loudest environment that he's ever played in, and he's played in a lot of games. So that'll go a long ways. I don't think it's going to affect him because I think he's seasoned. I think he'll handle it well, but Quinn Ewers is going to handle it very well also. The challenge for Quinn Ewers, in my opinion, in this game is going to be Brent Venables' game plan with the defense to try to get after Quinn Ewers a little bit.
He's made mistakes in the past. He will throw the ball to the other team, and so I think that's a big deal. Turnovers can help win this game, significantly. If you finish +2 in the turnover battle, then I think you're going to be in really good shape. Weird things can happen, but again, the team that is more physical is usually going to come out on top in this battle, and we'll see. Oklahoma, I don't think has been very physical on the offensive line this year. I think Texas has been pretty physical, and what they did. Listen, you can say how you feel about Alabama this year, but if you go to Alabama and win, and you dominate the fourth quarter the way Texas did to close out a game against a team that never loses at home, that's really
maybe the biggest win in college football
this year.
That's really
impressive. Just saying, no matter what happens in the Cotton Bowl, you can't take that win away from Texas. That was a good one. So,
and that's the plus on Texas' side. You look on OU side, they're been lacking a little bit in the offensive line. One of Texas' strength is the defensive line. So it comes up the question is, can OU run the ball against Texas?
Well, they haven't run the ball against anybody this year. So, that's a big step up here. I think also, though, too, the Oklahoma defensive line has not got a lot of pressure, but it's been really good against the run. Those guys, they've rotated a lot of players in, and I think the fact that they have depth can mask some of those issues. If you're going to be going good in the fourth quarter and you're not worn out, not tired from having to play, few players, and I think that could be good for Oklahoma too. So defensive front, Cal, has been pretty good this year. It's not gotten a lot of internal pressure, but it's been really good.
It's been really solid, and Coach Venables has been ramping up the pressures and the packages and the blitzes the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it's caused some quarterbacks to throw the ball up and to get some interceptions. So. This is an unbelievable game. It's an unbelievable matchup. Steve Sarkisian's offense and his game planning versus Brent Venables' defense, and they're two of the best. Brent being defensively and Coach Sarkisian being an offensive guy. And then on the other side, you've got OU's offense versus Texas's defense. Pete Kaskowski is the defense coordinator there. Came from Washington. It's in his second year. They were not very good last year. They've gotten a lot better. And obviously Jeff Lebby's one of the bright young minds in the game. It's got an unbelievable environment, and finish could go down as one of the great games in OU Texas history. And that's amazing because there's been a bunch of them.
That's what I'm saying. With the history that there is, this one is stacking up as one, this could be changing for both teams. If Texas wins, that gives them a runway all the way to the national championship almost. And if OU wins, that presents them, we're here.
I think OU's runway to the national championship is a little bit easier than Texas's if they win this game.
With the remaining schedule.
Yeah, it is. Texas got to play Kansas State. They got to play at TCU. Oklahoma's toughest game left would be TCU. Listen, losses happen to teams that aren't really good. So if you run the table or finish with one loss, both these teams are going to be in the national championship picture as far as getting in the playoffs. So, but this is a big game because the schedule isn't as daunting as it would have been in the past for either team.
Now, I remember you saying something about the atmosphere of the game.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that atmosphere. I mean, Dylan Gabriel hasn't faced that. What will he be? The butterflies will be turning, I'm sure.
Yeah, again, you know, they will very little for him, but he's played in so many games, you know. But he hasn't played in this type of environment. But he's played in front of 85,000, 80,000, whatever. So it's not like that's going to be an issue for him. So, but he gets down that certain part of that end zone, it'll get loud in there. And but I mean, he's played as good as anybody in college football has across the board this year.
He has it, and looking forward to see how he plays against that Texas defense. Hey, we are at Roosters Sports Bar and Grill on Main Street in Norman. You got to come by. Great atmosphere, all kinds of TVs and sporting events, and the food is excellent as well as the cold beer. So come by Roosters Sports Bar and Grill on Main Street. We'll be right back with more from the Oklahoma Sports Report.
You are the most beautiful creation under the sun. You are going to make Table 14 so happy. And you are being taken away. All right. At Neighborhood Jam, you deserve breakfast as beautiful as you. So start the day right with scratch-made favorites, morning or midday, every day. Treat yourself to Neighborhood Jam. You're gonna taste just as good tomorrow.
And welcome back. Rick Heath, Mark Rodgers, Cale Gundy on the Oklahoma Sports Report from Roosters Sports Bar and Grill here in Norman. As I said earlier, great food, great atmosphere, and all the sports you can consume right here. If you need a place to watch the OU Texas game, make it Roosters Sports Bar and Grill. You can have food, beverages, and an enjoyable game, hopefully with an OU victory if you're an OU fan here at Roosters.
I'm going to give you, Texas fans probably aren't welcome in here on Saturday, just saying. Cheese curds are fantastic, plus the wings with the dry rub on them, lemon pepper or Cajun, are really good, boneless wings. So those are my two favorites.
So just throw them all in there.
Just throw them all in there. Hey, we had Arkansas fans in here last Saturday. They were scoring touchdowns and they were going pig suey in here. And everybody's looking around and going, what is going on? There's about 8 or 10 of them. We thought they were lost.
Everybody's welcome, but there's going to be more OU fans in here. I think
There will
Saturday.
be. Texas fans can sit in the back, but
Yeah.
that's how it goes. Guys, let's talk defense. I mean, you look at it, and Texas's defense has been really solid. OU's is improving. The question mark to me is OU's defense as good as we've seen to this point, or is it still need to be tested a little bit more? Cale?
Oh, it definitely needs to be tested, and it's going to be tested to the fullest this Saturday. I mean, nobody else will test this defense like anybody else the rest of the year than like Texas is going to. Again, Texas is going to be, you've got a very good quarterback back there. He's got great wide receivers back there. Big question mark on the tight end, Jatavian Sanders. Not sure if he's going to play or not.
That would be huge
That's
if
huge
he's
because
not.
that's the first true tight end that OU has faced all year long. And that makes a difference if there's a tight end there and then you have these receivers also. If you don't have that tight end there, they can play some different stuff with those receivers out on the outside. So it's going to be a challenge. But I tell you, I keep going back to just, Brent Venables and his defense and how he gets that team ready to play.
Well, okay, I got to ask you a question. If you're coaching Texas on offense, Kel, 22-1-1 is the statistic on rushing offense. The team that has won the rushing battle is 22-1-1 since 1999. Texas clearly has great receivers and a great tight end. At some point, offenses can get a little too impatient with trying to make big plays and go away from the run game when really establishing the run game is really important. Is that something that Texas has to worry about where, hey, we know we've got Worthy, we know we've got Mitchell, we know we have Sanders here, but do we have to try to establish the run or just come out and try to use our weapons to score quickly?
No, I think they're going to try to establish that run, and I think they want to use some of that clock as well. They want to mulch that up and take their time and try to keep that OU offense on the sidelines as much as they possibly can. They want to try to have some 10, 12-play drives, but again, OU's defense has been good against 10 and 12-play drives. They've been bending, but they haven't really been breaking down there in the red zone. So, I mean, if you look at the statistics across the board, offense and defense for both of them, I mean, they're so close. And it's just hard to, somebody's going to have. There's going to be one or two players on each side of the ball that's going to have great games, and somebody's going to make a strip and pick it up and score, or somebody's going to have an interception, or somebody may run a kickoff back. Something's going to determine this game. But in the past, like Mark is talking about, it's been whoever comes out of that game with the most rushing yards has been
I think
the
that this
victor.
adds coaching to the element of this is that you have to be patient as an offensive coach.
But OU is not going to come out with the most rushing yards in this game, and I still think they can win because of the passing.
And to me, the key to OU's rushing attack is going to be Dylan Gabriel. I mean, because they haven't been able to run with the running backs, but they might be able to get Gabriel in some creases and in some broken plays and maybe even some design runs.
They will.
And be able to get some positive yards from that rushing attack.
We're going to figure this out between Kale and I, because I think we've definitely a complete disagreement here. 22-1-1 is enough of a statistic, and if you go back further than that, it's going to pile up even more in the same direction.
I see a wings bet here.
I
see a wings bet.
Very easily, it could be 21-2-1.
Okay.
Very easily. Probably the percentage is better.
I would tell you this. I would think that there's a better chance that if OU wins the game, that they do outrush Texas than that they lose, that Oklahoma wins the game without outrushing Texas.
I agree with that.
So anyway, we'll see.
We got that settled. But defensively, OU secondary has looked pretty good.
Yeah.
And we said you were sometimes with pressure will throw it up. To me, that may be, as you just mentioned, that may be one of the big keys to the game. Can OU get turnovers? Because Texas doesn't fumble much, but they do. He's only thrown one interception, but he has thrown some balls up.
Yeah, he has. I think they're going to be. The defense is going to get some pressure on him. Sacks, I don't know about sacks, but I think Brent's going to come up with some blitzes, and I think you're going to see a little bit more of zone blitzes than anything, because I don't think they want to take a chance on doing very many man blitzes and leaving those corners out there on the island and covering those receivers
and
giving up a cheap one.
Yeah.
And OU's given up some cheap stuff in the passing game, but they've done it in kind of zone coverages, and they've had a weakness over the middle of the field in their zone coverages. So.
I think the safeties at Oklahoma are really good run defenders. I do not think they're great pass defenders.
Yeah.
And whether it's a zone, and I don't think they want to put Key Lawrence or those guys in a man-to-man situation against somebody. If they get matched up on Worthy or Mitchell in some kind of a alignment situation, that's going to be really bad. So
I think the coaching staff, the defense, and Brent's looking at that going, if we don't give viewers enough time to find them, maybe that'll help us. If we put the pressure on him, and it, like you said, Kelly, they're going to have to come with some blitzes because the front four haven't been able to get home much.
Well, but Sarkisian knows that. He understands that. He knows what's about to happen, and he knows what's going to happen. What they have to do, and he's going to protect his quarterback the best he can possibly can. And then when he knows that he's got to hold on to the ball, he's going to have some outlets to get rid of the ball as fast as he can.
I think it was a similar situation last week against Kansas. Now, Kansas, they on defense were ranked in the top 25. They've not really faced a very good offense this year at KU, but Texas can come up with some matchups one-on-one and isolated, and they got in the 40s against Kansas. So I don't know. We'll see what they can do Saturday. I don't think that Texas will score 40 points in this game. If they do, for sure they'll win.
Right. We'll be right back with more on the Oklahoma Sports Report after this. And welcome back. Final segment, Oklahoma Sports Report, OU Football Edition. Cale Gundy, Mark Rodgers, and Rick Heath here from Roosters Sports Bar and Grill in Norman. New place, great food, great atmosphere, TVs and sports everywhere, cold beverages, and specials on drinks also here at Roosters Sports Bar and Grill. Gentlemen, the one side of the ball we haven't talked about, and it's very important, is special teams. OU special teams have played well and sometimes very good in the games leading up to it. Texas, I don't know as much about, but I do know they're not real happy with their field goal kicker.
Well, look, if the game comes down to a kick and the kicker's a little nervous, that could be a problem. He's either going to be a hero or a goat. I do think that Oklahoma's return game is much improved. I don't know that under Lincoln Riley, I think he was such a good offensive coach that his philosophy always was, I'm not going to let.
I'm going to fair catch everything.
And I always thought it was a good.
I was kind of in charge of it too.
It was a good philosophy.
We wanted a fair catch.
Yeah, we fair catch
unless
it.
we got a perfect kick. Unless we got a perfect kick, what we wanted, and we. But
I like that philosophy. Get the ball in the 25, let the offense go do it. I mean, on the special teams, you fumble a kick, and then it's ball in plus territory, all those things. But they do have some playmakers. Jaleel Farouk has been a playmaker. Gavin Freeman has returned a punt for a touchdown. It's a little different. So, I mean, a punt return, you got a guy that can make a punt return who knows how to run under the ball and is fearless and is going to have ball security.
Freeman did that last week. I mean,
I think OU special teams in the return game is pretty good.
Yeah.
Blocked. I think we blocked, what, 1 or 2 punts already?
2 punts. We had
blocked
2 punts
already.
One should have been a touchdown last week. But that's what you get when you have a defensive guy recover the ball.
There's a lot of speed on OU special teams, and you're seeing that out there. You're seeing guys that are, being able to get to the punter and block some punts. And again, Gavin Freeman, and every time he catches the ball, you're just kind of holding your breath. You're thinking that guy can go at any time.
He made a running catch on a fair catch last week that was really special. I mean, he had to run about 20 yards, but he saved 20 yards of field position. And like you said, fearless. You have to be fearless to run into that rush and just keep your concentration. So I think that's an advantage for OU. The others may even out, but I think that's a clear advantage for OU.
Yeah, because you can get pinned down in some certain areas of that field, and it can get loud down there. And that's the last thing you want to do is get pinned in there inside the 5 or the 8-yard line or so when you're in offense trying to come out of those areas. But the Gavin Freeman and the Peyton Bowen, those 2 young guys are just unbelievable players and just seem to always be around the ball, and great things really happen. And obviously, Billy Bowman, intercepted the ball last weekend for OU, and what a great return guy. A lot of those guys were great receivers or running backs in high school.
Yeah.
And again, their skills are over there. So but a lot of those guys that probably could be playing on the offensive side right now, if need be, but they're on the defensive side.
Mark, your thoughts on how you think this game will start out. I mean, it's going to be everybody's going to be a little nervous to get starting. Everybody's going to have some uneasiness. What do you think is going to happen? I'm
expecting a lower scoring game, because I think establishing the line of scrimmage, you got to figure out, can we go out and push them around? If one side can push the other side around the first quarter, then I think you got to feel confident we can win the game and do what we need to do. Both teams can hit big play action passes, so I do think that, to me, this is not going to be a high scoring game.
Kale, all right, OU goes out, wins the toss. What do? They take the ball in the second half, or they take the ball right off the bat?
I think they're going to take the ball.
Wow, really?
I think he's going to take the ball.
Well, see, that's always to me, that's a huge question, because a lot of times you defer and put your defense out there to establish. And with Britt being a defensive coach, that would seem. But I mean, I appreciate your side of that.
It's just something in my mind just thinks that they're going to take the ball.
Well, he might know, but if there's any wind, if you win the toss, then you get the ball to start the second half, and you get the kind of choice of which goal you want to defend. That may or may not be a big deal, but I don't know what the weather forecast is going to be. But usually, I think sometimes in games, if you can possess the ball at the end of the first half, so you get the ball with 2 minutes back, you can go score and then know you're going to get it back, and that can create some momentum. So that's why I think people defer.
Fourth quarter, hot. It's going to be, most of the time it's hotter on the field in the Cotton Bowl. Fourth quarter, you start getting tired. What do you think about the conditioning factor in that fourth quarter?
Well, again, I think the weather is going to be favorable for both teams this weekend. I think it's supposed to be in the low 80s down there, and that's typically not like that. Typically, it's really hot. But I think overall, OU is going to be in great shape, and they've been playing a lot in the fourth quarter. And if you look out there with 5-6 minutes left in all the OU games, most of their starters are still out there. So those guys are getting a lot of reps in and playing. And but I don't really know Texas's true depth. Again, I know they got a couple injuries. It'll be interesting if those guys play. But I think OU is going to be well conditioned and be ready to go.
Okay, I have no doubt that OU is going to be well conditioned. Jerry Schmidt does a great job, but I will just tell you this again: you go look at the statistics from the fourth quarter of Texas at Alabama, and there is no bigger test than that. You're going to face the team that's dominated college football under a coach that has put people in the pros consistently. That defense is still really good at Alabama, and Texas dominated them in the fourth quarter. Dominated.
And I hope that's a one-off. But okay, real quick, guys. Key player in the game, Kale.
Dylan Gabriel.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to go against him, but I'll go with yours. I mean, because I think that each quarterback will have a lot to. If either one makes mistakes, then I think it costs them. And maybe Dylan Gabriel has a little bit of advantage over Quinn Ewers. So,
and I'm with Cale on Dylan Gabriel, but on Texas side, Worthy to me is the big. You know, he's the wild card because he can take it to the house any given time. If they get some big plays out of him, it's going to be hard for OU to win.
There's been some schemes. I mean, if you remember a couple years ago, Oklahoma's tackling was so bad that they would line up a couple of wide receivers out there and just say, hey, we're going to go block these two guys, we're going to throw it to Worthy, and he goes 80 yards for a touchdown.
First play of the game.
Yeah, I don't think that Oklahoma they're much better than that now. They're going to be more physical, and I don't think those kind of things are going to work in the game, but Worthy's going to be tough to defend.
Dylan Gabriel's got to have a good game. If Dylan Gabriel has not been playing up to what his standard is, which is unbelievably high, if he's not up there, they won't win this game.
Hey, I won't put you guys.
Unfortunately,
I won't put you guys on a spot, but I got it 34-32 OU. That's going to do it for this week's edition of the Oklahoma Sports Report. I want to thank Cale Gundy and Mark Rodgers. I'm Rick Heath. We'll see you next week.